You're listening to the Walking Dead Enthusiasts Podcast. Your hosts, Sebastian Kubanucci.
I thought I had to take a really big dump after eating tacos, and I got up, and there was a baby in my toilet.
Dennis Patrick.
I wouldn't miss my family in the zombie apocalypse, but I would be concerned about the future of Taco Bell.
And Ryan Smith.
You can put ketchup on your skitty all you want, but you can't date no child molestator.
Welcome to the Walking Dead Enthusiasts Podcast by Fandom. I'm Sebastian.
I'm John.
Today we're talking about episode 906 of The Walking Dead entitled, Who Are You Now? Who are you now, John?
I'm the guy. It feels like it's a fear podcast.
It is. I think we need a new intro music. We need non-host, host non-binary intro music.
That's right. Did you gender me, Sebastian?
Yeah. We need host-neutral podcast intro music.
Right.
Yeah.
People jump in like, wait, who? God damn it.
We're bouncing around a lot this season, but it's always fun to get different opinions and stuff like that. So, Ryan tends to get pretty hung up on the show. Doesn't enjoy it as much as we do. So, that felt like such a strange foreign statement to come out of my mouth, but I'm actually thoroughly enjoying this season so far, dare I say.
Because, fool me 4 times, shame on somebody. But I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, and we were texting about this. I feel like Angela Kang, I don't know, she kind of feels like she's turning a tanker around here, man.
We'll see. I mean, looking back at history, if I recall, a little bit of PTSD I have is back in episode 7 of this last season of Fear is when all shit broke loose. Everything went to hell. So, I mean, we're about to hit episode 7 next week, and who knows, it could all go to hell, but I have faith that it will not. So, fingers crossed.
All things crossed.
Yes, everything is crossed. But I mean, it seems like even the fans haven't given up, so that's good. We were talking about a little bit today, the ratings. We anticipated a pretty steep drop off after Rick's final episode 5, and then going into this episode, we kind of thought maybe there would be a bit of a dip, seeing as there are so many people online saying, once Rick's dead, I'm out and I'm not watching the show anymore, blah, blah, blah. But, looking at it from a ratings perspective, they actually came out today since we're recording on a Tuesday. Last week's episode 5, which was Rick's final episode, 5.41 million live viewers. And then last Sunday's episode 6, was 5.40. So really only 100,000 drop off between the 2 episodes. So maybe I only saw 100,000 people saying I'm done after Rick leaves.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the best case scenario for them.
Yeah. They're probably dabbing their moist brows at this point.
You see the TV executives like, oh, I'll pray to anything that'll listen.
I guess looking forward, the next big thing that they have to worry about is mid-season, that drop off between mid-season. So, I don't think they're totally in the clear yet. I don't think we've hit baseline viewership for them. I think there's probably a big likelihood that they'll drop off into the 4 millions before the start of next season. That's what I would anticipate, at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see, especially because now they just have to get back to the business of, okay, this is the timeline. Let's go forward with what is ostensibly a truncated narrative for the remaining episodes of season 9. They've got but they have a limited amount of time to get us to that mid-season and anticipate the back half.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I feel like they've already just in this episode alone, they've done a really great job of building up the next storyline, which obviously is the Whisperers, if you've read the comic books. And, as long as they keep it remotely interesting over the next 2 episodes, I don't think there's going to be any big Whisperer moments over the next 2 episodes or anything. But Maybe we'll see the introduction of Alpha at the end of this season. Or at the end of this mid-season, but who knows? I don't know. It feels like still a little bit new. I feel like even in the comic books, there was quite a bit of like talk about the Whisperers before you actually ever saw one. So, maybe we just don't see any through the end of the season, but I don't know. I thought for a 90-minute episode, going into the last 2 seasons, anytime I saw it was a 90-minute episode, I was like, oh, God, no, please. I do not want to watch 90 minutes of The Walking Dead. And I was pleasantly surprised. They were actually able to fill this 90 minutes. It was all relatively interesting, and, I didn't find myself too frustrated by any of the storylines, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, and, Tara didn't get any lines, so it worked out for everybody, right?
Even in this episode?
I don't think so. I don't think she was.
She's the new leader of the Hilltop.
Right. I mean, maybe, but like conspicuously absent, right? There was a telling pronoun use of she. I think that would be really interesting if Tara was the leader of Hilltop. You may get what you wish for, Sebastian.
I know, I said it as a total joke, but there is a high likelihood that could in fact be the case, and it makes me a little bit nervous. Yeah, they might say, oh, you have seniority after Lauren Cohen, so you're the new Maggie. Okay, how do you like that?
Enjoy.
Yes, enjoy. I mean, just being reported in the news also, I mean, I don't know if this is a spoiler. I kind of don't care at this point because we've already talked about it multiple times, knowing that Lauren was leaving. She was only supposed to be in 5 or 6 episodes of the season, and it turns out last episode 5, was her last for this season. So like you said, all the use of she in this, I think, the viewers who aren't involved in the day-to-day of the news and all the drama that goes on behind the scenes would assume that they're talking about Maggie. But from my understanding, they are most definitely not talking about Maggie. So there's another she out there, and obviously we can talk about candidates later for who that she is, but there's a couple of options.
Yeah, what an unceremonious exit.
Yeah, it's a little bit, maybe because it sounds like she left knowing that she was planning on coming back for season 10, so they're trying not to just, like, I wonder how many how many episodes, like, the average viewer who doesn't follow any of the news, doesn't follow any of the drama behind the scenes, how many episodes will go by before someone says, wait, we haven't seen Maggie for 4 episodes, where the hell is she? And maybe they're just trying to like slip it by, like, ooh, maybe if you don't mention it, they won't notice it.
Right. Wait a minute. Wait. Where's Maggie?
Enid. It's definitely Enid. No. Also an option. Also an option. So, like I said, 90 minutes. It was fine. I'm not gonna lie, I still have a couple of problems with this episode, and I feel like they're maybe running out of interesting stories to tell for some of these characters, even with a 6-year time jump. Mm-hmm. I found myself a little bit frustrated, feeling like some characters were super developed after the 6-year jump, and then some characters were essentially acting exactly the same as they have in the past 8 seasons. Specifically, Carol, I thought, was a little bit frustrating, and Daryl. I don't know why after giving him finally giving him alliance for the last 5 episodes, they decided to revert his character back to this like grumbling, isolated, like hermit type character who's living out on his own in the woods. I don't necessarily agree with that decision.
Well, I don't know if we know that. We know he was out there right then.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
On one side, it does sort of track for Daryl's character to be like, well, I'm done with city life. As sort of a visceral reaction. I agree with you to an extent that would make sense to me for like 2 years after Rick's disappearance. Like, all right, I need to just go on walkabout and figure my shit out for a period of time. But 6 years, I think we talked about this last episode. Like, we should see the ramifications of their life altered from that period of mourning. We shouldn't really see them still mourn. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And Well, so then how did you feel about the fact that this episode basically intros with, I don't know, not Michonne mourning, but, you know, Michonne speaking to Rick, basically. I don't know. Do you find that a little bit frustrating that after 6 years she's still going to this bridge and talking to him?
I don't think so. I don't mind it going to a bridge because she doesn't have a grave.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I guess
right?
it's like anyone going to a cemetery and seeing a grave marker and talking to that person like they're there or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
That makes sense.
No, I think a person, you know, like Michonne, she's going to make a decision to keep doing something, and she's just going to do it, and that's it.
Yep. It's very much in line with her comic book character too. It's not something they super played up on the show, but Michonne would actually talk to herself a lot in the comic books and talk to her old boyfriend or her old baby daddy or whoever it was. I don't remember. But it was nice to see that tie-in in this episode where she's talking to Rick, and then even Judith walks in on her talking to herself in the house too. So I thought that was a nice little nod to the comic book there. Sorry, did you have something to say?
No, I love that scene just in general of Judith like walking in like, oh shit, nope, I've gone too far, let me get back, nope, I'm screwed. And I can, if anybody's ever like, you know, try to go into like your parents' room when like they were having an argument or like anything like that, you realize like there's a moment where like you're in the tractor beam of that room, you're like, well, I can't get out of this. Okay, let's just see what happens, you know, that kind of thing. And
you could definitely tell this isn't the first time Judith has walked in on Michonne talking to herself. I thought it was very obvious that Judith was kind of like, you know, walking up to the door thinking that she was talking to someone, and then she's like, oh, there's mom talking to herself again. I'm going to try to back out of this.
Right. Really deftly played by the young actress there.
Yeah. You know, there's been a lot of criticisms for this actress, particularly around her voice. But, you know, how old is she? Like 10?
Yeah, I don't even think even.
Maybe we could cut her some slack a little bit.
There are other things to critique here, folks, not the, you know, the timbre of a prepubescent child's voice. Like, can we please?
I mean, yes and no. Because there's plenty of strong child actors out there. And do I consider this girl a strong child actor? I don't know. The jury's still out for me personally. I don't know. Like I could think of like a lot of other child actors that are strong, that I've seen in a lot of other shows, and she doesn't strike me as one yet. But who knows? Maybe, you know, maybe she will. Is she top of the call sheet?
She is not. I believe Norman Reedus is top of the call sheet.
Okay, because all of, like, the promotional materials I see, it's like her front and center. She is the biggest. Like how Morgan replaced Madison, she has replaced Rick Grimes.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far.
Right. Fair enough. So jumping all the way back just to like my general thoughts of this episode, like I said, I thought it was a strong episode. I thought it was good. I thought that 90 minutes was plenty of time for them to cover off on like what has occurred over the last 6 years and where majority of our characters are to date, as well as the communities. I thought that was nice that they focus on that. I think what I personally need out of the show is, after 9 seasons, I feel like the show needs to start making a statement about apocalyptic life. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
They obviously constantly focus on the concept of hope and, you know, rebuilding and so on and so forth. But I feel like they haven't really taken a stand as to whether they feel characters can come back from these things. They're constantly flip-flopping these characters back and forth between one ideology and then another. Like, specifically Carol in this situation. You know, she's gone from don't kill anyone to kill everyone to don't kill anyone to kill everyone. And now we literally have a character 6 years later who's like, don't kill anyone and kill everyone in the same episode. You know what I mean?
You know, all lives matter, but sometimes a motherfucker gotta burn.
Exactly. And it kind of like frustrates me. Like, I want them to come to a conclusion or consensus on what is hope and what does it take for someone to live in this life and kind of lean fully into it. I mean, I understand that different people are going to have different interpretations, but I at least need, or different, how they handle these situations, but I at least need the characters to be like semi-consistent in the way they behave.
Sure. Even as the episode begins with, Michonne at, for lack of a better term, Rick's grave, which is the still same destroyed bridge that was never repaired, never, you see communities that are 6 years later fractured and just as isolated, even more so, than they were prior to Rick trying to unite everyone and push towards a common goal. There hasn't been, at least the story is alleging, there hasn't been anybody with Rick's vision in the intervening 6 years. Now, individual communities have done really well. Mm-hmm. You see Alexandria, looks like they've done really well for themselves under Michonne's and the council, their leadership. Mm-hmm. But Sanctuary, gone.
Yep.
Didn't survive. And as a result, you have pockets of highwaymen, for lack of a better term. And I'm wondering, when are we going to get back to the business of, because you need the damn bridge. The bridge was there for a reason. There was no convenient way to cross otherwise. So they made a bridge. So it would be easier. So no one's just going that way anymore?
I don't know.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, and that's like where I'm at. Like, what statement are you trying to make about this? Like, because there's no Rick Grimes, there's no hope in this world, and thus they didn't feel the need to rebuild this world, and they allowed all the communities they didn't feel the need to rebuild the bridge and allowed all the communities to collapse. Like, not collapse, but operate independently.
Right. They're independent. And some are in more states of disrepair than the others. We can see that, the kingdom is in an active state of decline in terms of its own infrastructure. It's old, and it's, they're getting by with duct tape and plastic. Mm-hmm. God knows how they found duct tape. However many, what are we, like 8 years now past the apocalypse? Mm-hmm. How much fresh duct tape can there be?
I don't know, man. I guess maybe they're growing duct tape.
The duct tape fields. I remember the harvest.
You didn't see the duct tape trees planted at the Hilltop?
I missed those. Those I missed.
There, Enid was picking fresh duct tapes.
Fun fact: the hanging was executed with a rope made solely of duct tape.
Exactly. Frankly, that's probably the most needed resource in this world is duct tape. You could use that shit for everything.
It's true. 100%.
Armor, nooses.
Make a good shank out of it.
Exactly. So many good things. But
right.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I want them to like lean into something and like make a statement and decide from a writing standpoint like what opinion they're trying to make with this show, and just like go full bore into that, because the flip-floppiness is kind of like annoying, and I don't know. I just want them to make a statement. Do it.
You'd like them to have a politics.
Yes, I would like them to have a something. Like, what are they trying to say about Carol at this point? 6 years later, what are they saying about her character in this episode? She's saying, I'm a mother. I'm trying to make a good example for my child. But then she kills all of the saviors. Like, it seems like she's trying to make a good example for her child, right?
Yep. Well, it's two things. It's nature and nurture all at the same time. There is the other, the piece of that is, there's an image of herself that she is trying to project to her son. She is trying to lead and be an example of what she wants him to be. And then there's old Carol. There's stab your friends in the head, drag them outside, and burn their corpses. Carol. There's look at the flowers. There's blow up Terminus damn near single-handedly. Carol. There's that person who's got a whole lot more mileage being out in the world than, with Henry. So I think I don't think you necessarily see her slipping. I think you see her have a moment where she kind of slips on the old glove of Angel of Death Carol, because you just got to remind people, like, motherfucker, don't think I can't be the old me if you push me.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's what it is. She wanted to teach her son that, hey man, you don't have to fight every battle. But what does she say? She said, I was going to let you go. Everything. But the things you'd already taken, there were people she knew.
Yeah.
And at that point, he's done it to Jed and company, had done it to other people. They left other people out here for dead. It's basically the old savior way of, I can take it, so I'm gonna.
Yeah.
Gotta go.
Frankly, I'm surprised this motherfucker has survived for that long.
Right?
6 years seems like a lot of time to just be doing what they were doing, and for no one to know that they were doing it, or to continue to allow them to do it, seemed kind of silly in that way.
Yeah, and I think it does serve, because if Henry knows it happened, what Carol did, because Carol really wasn't. That's a bonfire. You can't really hide a bonfire.
No. Yeah. All right, go on.
But it's also to show him that, hey man, there are people like this out here. Still, this isn't civilized society. It could have gotten to that point. That's what Rick was driving towards. A system of laws for all communities. Now it looks like individual communities have laws or a system of rules, right? But there are people still out here who will just burn you alive, and that's it. Just so happens I'm one of those people. I'm your mom.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it all just goes back to me wanting the show to make some sort of statement, and there being some sort of repercussions at this point for whatever way the show decides to go. Is lawless killing okay? Then fine. Is it not okay? Then fine. But then Carol should suffer some repercussion for her actions in some way or another. If you say it's fine, then okay, she doesn't have to suffer repercussion. If you say it's not, then she needs to, because she just murdered 15 people.
Yeah, but dead men tell no tales. Do you know what I mean? Who's going to talk? They robbed her, they robbed her at I don't even know what, Trident Point? I don't know what the hell that was.
Yeah, that was a trident.
Right? That looked like I'm so wait, am I being robbed by mermen? What's happening? Okay, Trident. You get robbed at whatever point, and they took all their stuff, endangered the prince, because it's royalty over at the kingdom. The queen and the prince were robbed. That's a capital crime.
Sure. But if you have a lawful society, then she goes back and reports to whoever is in charge. They have a prison.
Sure. Well, Hilltop has a prison.
Sure. So go throw their asses in there.
But I think I think you're looking for the show to make a statement, and it is. They're saying lawlessness is kind of what's happening out there. There are the individual isolated communities where law exists within the walls. Outside, it's anything goes.
Yeah. All right, fine, fair enough. I just feel like different communities have different rules. Michonne, a big storyline from Michonne 6 years ago is that she was creating this charter for all the communities to have all the rules to live by and abide by. And to me, it just seems kind of strange that Rick would die and then all of that would go by the wayside. He was the only thing holding all of this together. But at that point, most of the community's leadership had agreed to these things. Maggie was in it. It wasn't just Rick pointing this out. And so it just kind of seems strange that all of that would be abandoned and then it's like every man for himself at this point.
Right. It does seem strange. It's almost like there are details they're purposefully withholding for narrative effect.
All right, maybe I wanted a little bit more in my 90.
How much more could you possibly want? We had to get the commercials in.
You're right. There was a lot of commercials.
They gotta pay for all them lawsuits, okay? The lawyers aren't cheap.
Yeah, for real. All right. Well, so obviously Michonne makes this kind of imaginary speech to Rick. I think we kind of talked about majority of the shit that happened in this situation. I personally, I thought it was a nice way to intro the next 6 years. I have a little bit of problem with like Michonne's hair and makeup these days. Like I thought it would have been Denai Guerrero, who plays Michonne in real life, has short, like a cropped crew cut haircut. I thought it would have been a perfect opportunity, and this is just nitpicky bullshit, and it has like no bearing on the story whatsoever. But I thought it would have been pretty badass if they actually let her cut her dreadlocks off and like have like her real hair in the show.
Oh, I mean, Denai that was her choice.
To keep the dreads?
That particular, her and Melissa McBride both had input into how their hair was styled.
Really?
Yes.
I'm shocked she said I want it all off, because there's so many interviews with her like complaining about how hot it is, and like especially in Georgia in the middle of the summer, like 100+ degrees, and she has to wear this heavy ass fucking wig.
Oh man, people do what they want. You know what I mean? Like she's like playfully bitching about her hair, like, oh no, woe is me. Marvel, yeah, I'll cash the check. It doesn't. Oh no. Yeah, if she really had like a reason to like, listen, man, I don't wear this fucking wig, like you're out of your mind. Yeah, they would have a scene where she shaved her dreads, but she didn't want to.
All right, fair enough. I didn't know. Now you know. Now I know. Another little detail from this scene is Michonne is actually wearing Rick's wedding ring around her neck, as far as I know. Mm-hmm. Which I think is kind of bizarre.
Right? I'm like, how would you have gotten a hold of that?
Well, so that's what I said. And then someone in another Walking Dead community, actually Sista Speak, whose podcast I will be on later this week to talk about this episode. So if you want to hear my opinions again, you can listen to me there.
Plug.
Someone commented and said, no, Rick took it off after he started dating Michonne. So that's how because I was like, what did like his finger like and blow off his finger? It was like the only thing like left there. I was like, that's ridiculous. But then I'm like thinking about it, like he took the ring off as a symbol of like, I'm moving on from my past life. I'm going to be with Michonne, yada yada yada. To me, kind of weird that she would wear that, a symbol of his prior relationships around her neck, right? Just me.
No, I get it, but like if you want to have something like a talisman of the man with you at all times, like what else you got? The kid's got the Colt.
Yeah, well, keep the motherfucking Colt.
Michonne's not like a handgun person.
Yeah, no, we've all seen her shoot a gun before. It was not pretty.
No, it's not great. Keep
she could have rocked the cowboy hat. No, probably wouldn't fit on top of all the dreads.
Right, then she'd be passing out from heat stroke with the dreads plus that. Like, come on, we gotta just be kind.
Yes, indeed. And I was actually pleasantly surprised. I was to see that they've managed to improve their CGI over the last 6 years with some very believable birds and worms and baby birds.
Yes, I like the image of the walker being basically reclaimed.
That was cool.
Yeah, I dug that.
Who am I? So complimentary this
My
season.
God.
I know. I don't like it. Yeah, so I mean that's kind of it. We kind of talked about what the bridge not being rebuilt symbolizes, and I thought that was a very nice lead in to what we see with the additional communities moving forward in this episode, that everything's kind of in a state of disrepair. It's very symbolic with the bridge not being rebuilt. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And she finds a little. I like the whole speech that she made. It kind of suggests that she's having a hard time kind of finding the light each and every day, and every day seems to grow darker. It's harder to see the future and to move forward, but then there's these little flashes of light which reminds her why she's trying to move forward and reminds her of Rick, and then she finds that kind of little cowboy talisman or whatever in the truck. I thought that was kind of like a nice little touch.
Yeah, it's the little cowboy with his little gun. I'm like, huh? Oh God.
All the feels. Or Westworld tie-in, definitely.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Crossover? Sure.
So this is also the first scene where we get a glimpse of like Daryl, and we kind of talked about him a little bit. I'm kind of under the impression, and not entirely sure. I thought they were maybe trying to like lead us to believe that he is now like feral Daryl again. But I also was thinking maybe he's just out there hunting for the larger group. Because they have that next scene where Eugene has like a deer around him. So I'm like, maybe they're just struggling with food a little bit.
Yeah, because that's always going to be like the constant, they're just going to keep eating. So you have to keep, killing deer.
Yeah. So, I mean, I watch Naked and Afraid, and I know when they go on hunting expeditions, sometimes they're out for like a day or two, and that might explain why he's like kind of living in like a tent or whatever. Not that he's living there permanently, because I think that's like a major regression for Daryl's character if they put him back into this position of being like the lone wolf who can't get over the death of Rick and, refuses to surround him with people. Because this is like now more than ever. And I mean, they already kind of warned us. They were like, the females are going to be taking a more active role, yada, yada, yada. But I mean, Daryl's there, utilize him and put him, he doesn't have to be in a full leadership position where he's bossing all the ladies around, but he could be actively involved in the storyline and not just like when Carol decides to go see him in the woods.
Right.
So, I don't know. So we get to Magna. We finally get introduced and her group, which I thought was a really cool introduction. Magna's so fine. Just saying.
Whew. God, okay. I said goddamn.
If the whole show could just be the Magna show now, I'd be totally cool with that. Turns out she's with the one with the head injury. Did not know that. So, yes, Magna would not be into me, but I will still enjoy seeing her while she's in the show.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's all right. I'm used to it. She reminds me of the chick who plays Clementine from Westworld, who I also find incredibly attractive as well.
Seb has a type.
Clearly. It's hilarious because if you look at my wife, Courtney, not that type at all.
No, not at all.
But I'm also not her type. So, who marries their types, right?
The heart wants what it wants, Seb.
Yes, indeed. You married your type. You like redheads, and you found a redhead.
Yeah.
Right? No, I thought you like red. Don't you have like a little thing for redheads?
I don't know.
Or is that Ryan? That might be Ryan.
Might be right. Like if I look through the resume, I don't even know if like Red is scrolled. It's ashamed of how deep that is. But I think I don't even know if Jess would even say that she's a redhead.
What do you mean? Jess is totally a redhead.
Really? I don't know. I think more blonde. Well, it's me.
She's most assuredly a redhead.
Most assuredly? Okay.
All right. So obviously Magna gets introduced. Judith pulls her into the group where they meet up with some of our past characters that we haven't seen in a 6-year period. Eugene, some observations from this scene. Eugene is now certified badass, which I thought was pretty cool and about fucking time with his character.
Loved it. Just the authoritative strut and the stab in the side. I'm like, get it, buddy. Finally.
Yeah. Is this like the first Walker we've ever seen him like kill willingly?
Right, like on purpose, like I got this type of maneuver. Yeah.
Like it has to be the first one I've at least seen him kill confidently, for sure.
Right. How'd you like to be Josh McDermott, like in that scene, like I get to do it like I have a pair of balls? Yes.
And he's got his now awesome braided hair, which was also very cool. The one thing I found a little bit frustrating about this, the only way the writers seem to be able to convey time jump is either through children or man buns.
Yes, and that is the traditional way in society we experience time.
Yes, indeed. So I thought it was so dumb that fucking Sadiq, his man bun is just painful to look at. Like, I did not need Sadiq to have like this little pathetic like man bun on the back of his clearly not grown out hair. Like, come on.
Just a tiny little sock bun back there.
And this is coming from someone who has a man bun, so I know what an actual man bun looks like. Like, there's no way Sadiq is keeping the front of his hair short, and then he was like, I'm gonna tie this little puny 1-inch strand cluster of hair back into a man bun. It's clearly just like straggly hair on a clip that they clipped into his hair. It's just silly. Made me laugh.
Business in the front, party in the back.
Yeah. So it's either short hair or a mullet. So they decided to go with one of our mullets. But also in this scene, we see Aaron. He has some sort of like bionic arm fitting, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, I was having a hard time deciding. I'm like, all right, which hand got cut off?
Yeah, it kind of looks just like an arm.
Pardon me, sir, but it looks like you just have your two arms.
It was very like Jamie Lannister.
Right. Do you have a club dipped in gold in the shape of a human hand attached to your stub? Looks like it.
I think that's like basically what they did. Like, they didn't even go through the effort of having a CGI on it. Literally dipped his arm into like this gold shit, and they're like, "Don't move your fingers, all right? We're gonna make it look like someone built this for you."
Just see Nicotero standing over his shoulder, like, we'll get it in post.
Yeah. I thought one of the there's a whole bunch of shit that happened in this. Eugene being a badass, Aaron with his bionic arm, Rosita is still kind of Rosita. But then we finally get our first taste of like Judith, and I thought it was a little bit interesting that obviously she has some of the traits of her father about bringing people in and yada yada yada. I actually found her to be rather manipulative. Like, basically told them if they don't go, I don't go, and Rosita's like rolls her eyes. She's like, "Fine, goddammit."
Right. She kind of knows, like, I'm the golden one.
Yeah.
So like, my last name is Grimes. What's your last name? Who are you? Okay. I guess we're gonna do it my way then, huh?
Yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. I wonder, like, they didn't really seem to imply this, but like, do you think they put her up on like a pedestal of sorts?
I think they kind of do. Yeah.
Why are they taking direction from a 10-year-old?
Because Michonne would cut them into pieces if they didn't. I don't know.
But Judith directly contradicts what Michonne would have wanted in that situation anyway.
Because who is standing in the shadow behind her?
Who?
It's her father's authority still kind of filtered through her.
All right. Fair enough. I guess. It would have been nice if like Judith was a little bit old enough to like actually remember her father. I know she like claims to at the end of the episode, like, I'm forgetting their voices, but like I feel like at 4 you don't really remember anyone's voice. No, maybe not.
Maybe. A little bit.
Some cool call outs to Magna's group also is they have 2 characters that are deaf. Well, one character that is actually deaf, and then the other character in real life is actually hard of hearing. Correct. So that's why she could speak sign language. Both of them were, I forget what her name is. One's Angel something, and I can't remember the other woman's name. But they were on Talking Dead, and that was kind of cool because they both had interpreters. It was kind of a whole just different vibe to the Talking Dead that I thought was kind of neat. Super realistic that one fully deaf person would survive this long in the apocalypse.
Right. I think that's really, I think that's interesting. Mostly because I think she survived because she's got, her sister with her, who can, Lauren Ridloff, the actress who's playing, our fully deaf Connie. who is actually, deaf in real life. She's got her sister with her who can kind of hear, who's hard of hearing, so she's able to, basically be the Sherpa.
Hmm. Are they actually supposed to be sisters in the show?
I think so.
Oh,
now,
okay. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I think it says a lot to their group too. Like, it's a testament to like the group's kind of strength and the ability to keep a person who is deaf alive. It kind of goes to Fear the Walking Dead a little bit with I cannot remember the Sarah and
Oh right. Yeah, like I'm in this show right now. I have no memory of the previous cast.
Yeah, I get it there. But Sarah and her brother, whatever, in the show, he's in a wheelchair. I think that's obviously a testament to their ability to survive, and their bond. I think that's kind of like the same concept here that I like. And it sounds like they've been trying all over the United States. I did a little bit of searching around. Jones Springs is in West Virginia, and Coalport is in Pennsylvania, a town of less than 900 people. So that must be a real. I don't know where that is in Pennsylvania. Does not sound like somewhere I'd ever want to go.
They're playing the quiet game up there.
Yes, indeed they are. So jumping over to the Kingdom, kind of a lot of fun, different standout things here. Obviously, we have a teen Henry now. So the actor who played Henry, quote, 6 years ago, he is now obviously off the show, and now we have an aged up version. Fun fact, and I think we maybe mentioned this last week, but they, quote, officially announced it. Younger Henry was played by Maxon Lentz. Older Henry is played by Matt Lentz. So it's actually Maxon's older brother who's playing him, Henry, in the show. That I think that's kind of cool. At least you would like to think that you have some sort of similar traits to your sibling, so that it's not super jarring, the fact that they replaced one actor with a different one.
Right, and the kid's got credits.
Yeah.
Matt, he's most recently from The Alienist, a bunch of episodes on that. Season run, had, Kill the Messenger, was in Pixels, Free State of Jones, which is a Matthew McConaughey vehicle.
Fun.
Right. He's been... Since first credit looks like 2009.
That whole family, it's a family of actors. So Matt Lentz, Maxon Lentz, and funny enough, Madison Lentz is their sister who played Sophia in season 1 and 2 of The Walking Dead. So it's just like this whole weird incestual thing with The Walking Dead. And then Mackenzie Lentz, who's also another Lentz sister, was like in that show Under the Dome. So the whole family is just like a family of actors. So. And Jeff, right?
Yeah.
He lives in the same neighborhood as the Lentz family in Georgia.
Well, I'll be damned.
He sees them all the time. So fun little tidbit that no person who's actually listening to this podcast will appreciate except for you and I. That's a former coworker of John and I. So, but so in this story, Henry is talking to Ezekiel or whatever, and he wants to go to train at the hilltop under Earl the blacksmith because the community is falling apart and we need tools and we need someone who actually knows how to use the tools. This is exactly Carl's storyline from the comics, except in this situation it's Carl who wants to go and Rick who doesn't want him to go. So I thought so obviously they're using Henry as Carl's storyline forward in the show to some capacity. How effective this is, I don't know, but I don't know if you have thoughts.
I mean, it feels... what do I want to say here? So I think for the narrative as it stands right now, it's pretty organic. I think it's reasonable for the kid to want to contribute and contribute in a meaningful way and not just kind of wait in the wings to rule or whatever plan Ezekiel would have for him, be bubble wrapped up. At the same time, if you're going to kill Chandler's character, if you're going to kill Carl, but keep his narrative, couldn't you have just kept the actor and the character in the first place?
Yeah, but what's kind of weird? How old is Matt Lentz? He's over 18, right?
I want to say.
Wasn't part of the backstage drama about why they killed off Chandler Riggs is because he was turning 18 and they didn't want to have to pay wages?
Yeah, there was that. Matt is 17, actually.
Oh, okay. So Matt's going to survive until he turns 18. When's his birthday?
May 23rd.
All right, so see ya. He gets one season, and then he's gone.
Sorry, kid.
Okay. Well, so my argument was going to be if they replaced Chandler with an adult anyway, and they're paying this kid adult wages, why the fuck did they get rid of Chandler to begin with? Maybe Chandler could have asked for way more money because he's been there since season 1, and Matt would just be coming on.
Right.
That might just be the situation moving forward, right?
Yeah. Well, and Chandler at the time, like he had worked, I think, a little bit. Right, but that was his first kind of big thing, The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Matt, while only 17 years old, he's actually been on other series, and has a damn near 10-year working history. Mm-hmm. Think about that. He's been in that industry since he was 6-7 years old.
Yeah, but he also doesn't have the leverage that Chandler would have.
No, quite right. Doesn't have the leverage. Doesn't have, can't get paid like an adult.
Yeah.
Yet. Can't. And who knows who knows how their treatment, AMC's treatment of Chandler Riggs has impacted contract negotiations with child actors on that show going forward. Actors who are, by their estimation, going to turn in, transition into adulthood on the show. Start as a minor, end up as an adult, still playing the same character. Mm-hmm. I imagine it's going to impact their contract negotiations, and I imagine that somebody's going to try and prepare themselves or protect themselves against pulling a Gimple. No more home loans out there for a house they can't afford in the Atlanta area.
Yeah. Maybe they negotiated multiple years into Matt's contract, moving him into 18 even.
Yeah, because there a couple actors have done that in the wake of Andrew Lincoln's exit. I know Norman Reedus, a new contract. Melissa McBride, new contract.
I wonder how many seasons they signed on for.
I don't know, but the rumor for Reedus is in the neighborhood of $50 million, and McBride's is 20.
Jesus Christ. I also heard grumblings that Norman wants to leave. I don't know how true that is or not. That could just be totally rumor mill stuff.
Right, yeah.
I don't know. That would be interesting too.
Well, he just had a kid himself not too long ago.
He did?
He did.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. So, new parent, priorities shift a little bit.
Yeah. He's 50. Not what I'd want to be doing at 50, but who's to say?
Yes, him and Diane Kruger, their first child together. He's got one other kid who's 18.
She's a little old too.
Damn. Seb's just full of judgment over here. Like, I don't know, that child actress's voice is noisy. I don't like it. Also, she's old. Too old to have a kid.
She's not too old to have a kid, but I don't know. Like at 42 and 50 being who they are, like, do I want to have a kid right now? Probably not.
I don't know.
That's just me.
Sure.
That's just me.
You just can't. You can't afford a nanny.
Yeah, well, that's true. Well, I would adopt or whatever, but whatever. I want to stay out of it. So let's talk about the show.
Okay.
So obviously they talk about wanting to have a fair or whatever. We don't really get too much about that, but they plan to throw a big community fair to hopefully bring all the communities back together because, as we know from the show. Or from, the intro, the communities have not really been working together over the last 6 years or so. This is where we get the whole comment about Hilltop feels distant, hasn't been the same since, and then Carol kind of cuts him off and he doesn't get to finish his sentence. this is foreshadowing the fact that Maggie is no longer at the hilltop. But, fans who are not aware of the outside kind of going-ons of the show, you wouldn't catch that. But so in terms of who is actually leading the hilltop these days, where are you kind of netting out? Because later in the episode, we also get a comment about we'll bring them to her, quote unquote, when they allow Magnus Group to go to the hilltop to live. Oh, there's also the one comment Ezekiel makes. He says a few more of those who will pull us down from our flights of fancy back to Earth, who at the hilltop will do that for Henry. They're talking about like being a dreamer or whatever. And Carol responds, I have some ideas. It's like, what? I'm just so confused because we don't really know who haven't we seen, who is at the hilltop. We don't really know.
Well, I have a few dark horse. Well, one dark horse candidate who I think would be an interesting choice.
Okay.
Brett Butler's character, the blacksmith's wife.
Okay.
You remember?
Yeah.
I think she would be an interesting sort of steward if she were just in place to kind of keep everything afloat. Strong character actor. Long history of carrying her own shows. She's definitely got the chops to do it, depending on how that character is written and how it's allowed to expand over the intervening 6 years. I don't know if that would actually be the case, but I think that would be interesting for me. The other more obvious choices is, and more likely, it's a Terra run hilltop. Shall we call it Terra Top?
Okay. Go on with your evidence for that.
Well, we haven't seen her at all. We don't know anything about her story. The show so far, at least in this episode, took 90 minutes and gave us a pretty intimate interior portraits of where all of our characters and our communities are to this point, and one is conspicuously absent. The Hilltop and Terra. You're
right.
To that point, we didn't see Tom Paine as well, right? So, who else is available aside from the only other person we really didn't see, which is Enid?
Yeah, my other thought, but I don't. Would you really put her in charge?
No, because it's still Caitlin Nacon, who's a child. Essentially, right? She can't put it. No, I can't. Maggie wouldn't look and say, you know what? It's the kid's turn to step up. I'm out. See ya. Deuces. I don't think that would happen.
I'm just super not buying any of those at this moment. So I'm not fully sure. Those are very realistic options for who it could be. I just don't. I would have a hard time really buying into any of them being the leader of the Hilltop at this point, just because Terra, I don't think, is serious enough to be in that leadership role. Enid to me is not old enough to be in that leadership role, and then Brett Butler, that would kind of just feel like, I don't know. Obviously, she had a pretty heavy emphasis in the beginning of this half of the season, but I feel like that would come out of left field and people would kind of be left scratching their heads in a way.
Well, who's got a cast credit next episode?
Her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but if they're going to show the Hilltop, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, she's probably there at a minimum. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know how you go from my husband tried to murder the leader of this community to me now being the leader of this community. Maybe it's Jadis.
Maybe Jadis, and they're all wearing black, and it's welcome. It's Hilltop Garbage Town again.
Maybe they kicked her ass out of the helicopter.
There's multiple in the full kind of cast here. There's a lot of Hilltop members. type things that are here in the cast for next episode. I don't know, man. I don't know.
I mean, or Jesus had gender reassignment surgery, and he's now going by Janet.
Sure, he's like, I already had the long hair, so
yeah, why not?
That was one thing out of the way.
Oh, you know who we did not see in this episode at all? Oceanside.
Oceanside. Oh, yeah, hold on. Hang about.
Cindy. So the last interaction we see with Maggie and Oceanside is where Maggie sees that Cindy is kind of taking things into her own hand and offing the saviors that killed all the men of Oceanside. Maybe Maggie, in a way, kind of respects that decision. Obviously, she allowed it to happen. She did not stop it. And maybe she feels like Cindy's the type of leader that could take charge and kind of maintain things while she is wherever she is. Off on Whiskey Cavalier.
Right. Well, I'm off into a distant land called NBC.
Yes. I'm going to network television.
Bye-bye, dipshits.
That's my only other possibility at this rate.
Yeah. We'll find out.
We will. I feel like that's a strong possibility, though.
We'll see.
You're not buying it.
Not for a damn second.
All right, fine. So there's a lot that goes on with Magna and her group in this episode. We kind of talked about the dynamics of Magna's group and who's in that community. I like the scenes where they met Michonne. I thought it was interesting that Michonne kind of takes a no tolerance policy in terms of like new arrivals and new community members, which I think is very anti-Rick Grimes. At least new age Rick Grimes. Right. Back in the day, maybe not so much. But I don't know. Like she kind of, in the beginning, this is kind of where I go to like some things maybe contradicted each other and they're like not really making a statement and they're bouncing back and forth between character motivations. Like Michonne says in the beginning of the episode, I strive each day to like live like you and do what I think you would do and execute the vision that you had. But then we see in this later in the episodes that she has no tolerance policy for new arrivals. So I'm like, doesn't that kind of go against like everything Rick believed in?
Well, two things.
Two things.
One, she has a zero tolerance policy because that's the rule. And what did Rick want her to do? Make rules.
She created that rule.
Right.
Well, yeah. So that she created a rule that directly goes against Rick.
Well, yes, and at the same time, no. Because it used to be 3 questions. Yeah. It used to be how many walkers you kill, how many people you kill, why. Which I was waiting for somebody to like.
Me too.
Right? I'm like, somebody ask it. No one did.
So
it used to be that. And again, they're hinting that something happened in the intervening 6 years that changed their minds more so than Rick's disappearance.
The scar?
Indeed. Something done happened that changed a lot. So
someone harvested Michonne's kidney, and now she has a strict no strangers policy in the community.
Fool me once, lose a kidney. Fool me twice.
She let someone in, and she woke up the next day in a bathtub full of ice. With a kidney missing. No, yeah, I don't know. That's a good point. I think we'll obviously find out later, hopefully in the next couple of episodes, why she has this stance, and we're maybe getting a little like hints of it throughout the episode. But no one's really explicitly saying anything at this point. And it turns out she's not even really the leader of the community. She's the head of security, as we come to learn during the council meeting where they kind of interview Magna and her group, which I thought was interesting. Basically, it seems like Alexandria is functioning without a specified leader.
Right. Which I think is a natural reaction.
Yeah, but then I think it's kind of ironic that the first question that they pose to Magna's group is, who is the leader of your group?
Well, sure, then Magnus' response is, what makes you think we have a leader? Like, This line of dialogue got us a lot of places narratively. Obvious question, obvious reply. Back to you, Chet. I think, it's, what do you do when you're trying to interview a group of people? It's not like it's a diplomatic meeting between, secretaries of state and their entourages. It's, all right, I need one person. Is there one person who can speak for you? Because we want to judge you as a group. Mm-hmm. If not, because I don't want to get into a situation where we take one of you or we take some of you. It's got to be all of you or none of you.
Correct.
Right?
And so I think...
yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, no, it's just then somebody's got to be the mouthpiece.
Yeah. And I don't even think that was Magna at the end of the day.
No, I would not have, if I'm Dan Fogler's character Luke, I'm looking over like, shut the hell up, lady!
Yeah, he was definitely was able to make his points in a calm and concise manner.
Right.
He was definitely a good mouthpiece for the group, I think.
Yeah, I'm like, let everybody have their strengths, okay? Let the plucky music teacher who kind of is laughing at the irony of his situation and his own, long shot survival, let him do the talking. He humanizes the rest of you. I think you said you had 2 points, and I don't know if you ever went to your second point, but I don't know if you can even remember what your second point was at this point. I think my second point was going to be the 3 questions. It used to be as simple as 3 questions.
Gotcha. Okay. So, I mean, they kind of replaced the 3 questions with 3 other questions.
Right?
What were they? Who were you and who are you now? Basically.
Right.
So,
and what's your perfect Sunday? I think was the third
one. Personally, I like the how many walkers have you killed, how many people have you killed, and why. I think that's a little bit more thorough and maybe a little bit more pressing.
True. Agreed.
I don't want to know how many people you killed. I don't really give a flying fuck that you were a music teacher. But if you're looking at it from a community building standpoint, maybe that's even it shows the evolution of this world at this point, the level of questioning. Back in the day when you're talking about bringing people into your group, maybe 6 years ago, you care about how many walkers people killed because that's the primary concern at that point. And how many people have they killed because they know they've all done some fucked up shit, and that's probably still what they're relying on to this day. Now, you fast forward 6 years, where there's some semblance of a society at this point, and now it's not so much about the walkers and kind of surviving those or doing the hard things you needed to do to survive. Now it's more about who were you before this and what can you contribute to the greater society now that we're rebuilding things.
Right. Although granted, whatever they were before, they haven't done it for 6 years plus.
True, but I mean, it's like riding a bicycle, right? You could do SEO,
Sure. Hey, all I need everybody to do is turn on the internet for everyone again. Also computers. We'll need those. And then things. Stuff.
Oh my god. We'd be so useless.
100%, unless I take my laptop and turn it into a weapon.
Sure. But that's even only going to last so long, right?
Just have a motherboard whittled down into a knife. Stab people.
What did you do before this? I optimized websites for performance in organic search.
Do you want to rank number 1 for pet insurance? No. And do you have no? Just build a fire. Yeah, can't.
We'd like to rank number 1 for survival community near me. Save zone near me. That's. Can you do that? Can you optimize our Alexandria Safe Zone website?
If you're Michonne, I want it to appear nowhere.
Yeah. No, I'd be going to. They would not rely on me for much these days.
No, I would be Magna's bitch. Whatever you want, lady, just keep killing them for me.
Yep. I'd be her zombie horse carriage. I'd be like, yeah, just put the little fucking thing in my mouth and I'll pull Magna around all day.
Wow.
Damn, we got real Real dominatrixy around here.
Yeah, you took a hard turn.
So let's talk about the council and who actually makes up said council. We got Father G, Michonne, Aaron, Sadiq, Lara, and then 2 randos. Who I don't know how those 2 people got so lucky to sit on the council, but we don't actually know who in fact they are. I thought it was kind of interesting and telling. Well, maybe not telling. Why is Father G sitting in the middle of the council? To me, the middle always implies some sort of leadership. So I find it weird that Father Gabriel would be sitting in the middle.
He hasn't been there. Well, of the people sitting around, he's been there the longest, but it's not about tenure.
Michonne's been around the longest.
Right. Michonne's the OG there right now. I don't know.
Maybe they're like person with the most game gets to sit in the middle.
I mean, listen, Father Gabriel can get it. Okay? He can get it. You name me one more person out there just pulling them down to the extent that Father G is out there in them streets every day.
Do you think that the fact that he's a religious man has some bearing on him being like the representative leader of the council?
I think it probably implies some sort of inherent like moral arbiter. Very much, if you're looking at the symbolism of being in the middle, if he's very much the axis, of the seesaw, or like the point of equilibrium between the 2 sides, if he's like the balancing act between the 2 of them, I think I can dig that symbolism.
Yeah, I like that too. And maybe he comes across, visually speaking, as the least intimidating, being a man of God or whatever. Like maybe they're like, oh, okay, this guy's a little bit more approachable than Michonne, who straight up like is peacocking. She hops off the horse and her fucking chest is popped out, and she's like, "Who the fuck are these people?" I was like, "Oh damn!" Like I would not fuck with you.
Maybe whip out this katana and cut somebody.
I brought her back. I brought them here. It was my decision. I'm like, shut up, Judith. I cannot believe the character, the girl I've been bitching about since season 3, for them to kill off. I'm like, kill Judith, kill her, is now a 10-year-old and the last surviving Grimes. Like, it literally boggles my mind when I think back to 6 years ago. It's crazy.
See, you shouldn't have bitched so hard.
I know, I shouldn't advocate for the death of children, I suppose.
Nicotero downloads his podcast every week. You know that.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
What does Sebastian hate? Good.
Good. I mean, all of those things this week.
Excellent.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Do you have any call-outs from that scene with the council, in front of the council?
Yeah, I mean, I think if I have one sort of critique of that is the kind of the prison tattoo reveal moment. There's a bit of controversy about it. Michonne, she's using theatrics to whip up the mob essentially and sway a vote, and that's not like her.
No, it is not like her.
Michonne would always, at least in my estimation, the character would state her point. This is what I believe. This is what I know. This is the outcome that I hope for, or what my preference would be. And then she would sort of have the temperance to kind of let the process play out. Here, not so much, and maybe that's a testament to the effects of what's happened, the thing that they're not telling us about in the intervening 6 years. That some more should first her. The man she'd chosen to really spend the rest of her life with, ultimately the father of her next child, disappeared, and then something worse happened.
See, now Rosita made a comment in the next scene where she says Michonne knows prison doesn't mean anything, and that she got the crowd riled up on purpose. And Michonne and Rosita says she's been like that ever since when she's talking to Father G. I took that watching the episode to mean since Rick died.
And I think that might be what she's referencing too. I think I agree with that.
Oh, okay. So, but I thought maybe now she's referencing an event that has kind of changed her perspective on things.
It's ambiguous, but I think I agree with the first part.
Okay.
Especially given the scar moment. Now, I had kind of my own initial theories as to why she has that. But then, like, my initial reaction to it, I started to doubt it because that's not a surgical scar. That's not something Sadiq would do.
Is he a surgeon, though?
Does it matter in the apocalypse?
No, but my point is, like, yeah, we say by today's standard that isn't a surgical scar, but you know, that's probably what scars look like back in like medieval times.
I mean, not even, because even like a medieval surgeon, sure, but you know, the 1900s they knew to like limit blood loss, limit the amount of real estate that the body has to heal with.
I don't know, man. I mean, like, look at some of the, like, I won't even say our parents, but like our grandparents, like some of the scars that they had that like span the entire length of their fucking torsos, and like you found out they had to get their appendix taken out.
Oh,
like,
sure.
And now you have like orthoscopic surgery where you literally have like a little scar the size of like a small nick on your arm or your stomach. I don't know. Like that could be a representative of just like that era of surgery at this point.
No, I mean 1984. My brother had his sort of chest operated on, had his chest cavity popped, and he has a scar, a lateral scar across his chest, the upper portion of it. But that's a single. It's not like they went and like bifurcated him and went like, all right, one down the middle, and like, all right, let's make it into a cross for fun.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
Right.
You're right.
You only need enough to slip your hand in there and kind of get the thing out. But to your point, they're leaving it ambiguous right now. I guess we're gonna Kang has said like we're gonna find out about that later. Like okay,
gotcha.
Because I initially thought problematic pregnancy, preeclampsia, high blood pressure problems, but who's to say?
Yeah. I went like with like kidney donation, but like, are they really fucking doing organ transplants?
No, that's type of shit doesn't work in the apocalypse.
No, yeah, between just like not having the resources to do that, most of the time you have to be on some sort of medication for, after the transplant or whatever. Like, I just can't imagine they have the resources for that.
Right, forever, for the rest of your life.
Yeah, ever, basically. So hopefully you don't need any sort of organ transplant. So then you think like the theatrics are related to the theatrics at the council meeting with Magna, and the prison tattoo is related to whatever event occurred that we don't know, but not related to the comment that Rosita makes to Father Gabriel.
I think so.
Okay. I don't know, man.
And I could very easily be wrong.
Well, I mean, Rosita kind of says she did it because of whatever happened to her. So I don't know. I feel like they have to be related in that way, but I don't know. Maybe not. I just assumed she was talking about Rick.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. How does Michonne even know what a prison tattoo looks like? I find that kind of interesting.
Because she was
we don't really.
What was she? She was a lawyer?
She was like a hoity-toity, like, was she a lawyer or like a hoity-toity like art director or some shit like that?
She was hoity-toity, one way or another. She was high and goddamn mighty.
Yeah, but I don't recall if she was a lawyer or whatever, because remember she was like making comments about like artwork and shit like that.
Right.
In her like singular flashback scene.
Let me see here.
I know, right? Like I'm like trying to like look up.
Sorry, the Walking Dead wiki, of course, Michonne was a lawyer. Before them. Yep.
But they don't specify what kind of lawyer.
Probably not.
No.
No.
All right. Well, whatever. I guess we'll find out. So Rosita and Father G, that's kind of a new thing we discovered here. A bit of a love triangle going on. Rosita's into Father G, and obviously he's quite into her. Turns out Eugene is a little bit jealous of their relationship, and he kind of admits in this episode that he has a thing for her, or indirectly admits that he has a thing for her. Again, another tie into the comics. there, but it's in the comics, Eugene and Rosita actually had dated between the period of the time jump. In this show, it seems like it's just Eugene likes her. And actually, hats off, honestly, to the writers for toning Eugene way the fuck down. If he was at like a 15, they took him down to like a 6. And that's a Eugene I can handle.
Yes. I don't need Yoda to sound like Yoda all the damn time, right?
Yeah.
Right.
There was actually full sentences uttered that you did not need a thesaurus or a dictionary to understand what the fuck he was saying. So no translations required, so claps all around for that. But so one of the interesting things I thought about here is that Father G has kind of like this mission of getting these radios to work to connect with people farther out from them, and they need to amplify the signal in order to reach out to these people. Has Father G actually told anyone about this helicopter?
I don't think he has.
Does Father G actually know about the helicopter? Yes.
Yes, I believe he does.
Or maybe he doesn't know about the helicopter specifically, but knows that Jadis was communicating with people.
Right. Perhaps.
I don't think he ever actually saw the helicopter.
He's way too... If he knew, he would say something. And if they knew, they wouldn't let it go.
Yeah, I find it kind of weird that the only issue I had really with this scene is that there was no mention of it. Like, I feel like they should have at least implied that Father G had shared the information that Jadis was communicating with people that were not them via radio.
Right.
You know, like, it kind of like Rosita seems to like not fully, like, be asking way too many questions for someone who would know this information.
You're not wrong.
Yeah. So, and it's kind of annoying that he would like hold back that information and not share it with people. But
yeah, he's always been like a skosh deceptive.
Sure, but like he's in a position of leadership now. He should not be deceptive anymore. But yeah, that's kind of all. I mean, do you have any thoughts about their relationship?
Not yet. What kind of... We should all just be taking notes, really. Study Father Gary, you know, study his movements, study his technique.
Basically have one foggy eye and wear a wide-brimmed hat.
Step 1, go blind in one eye. Step 2, wide-brimmed hat. Step 3, you know, you're going to have to get a stick to swat all the bitches off.
Become a priest.
Let them know you're Episcopalian.
Yes. It'd be funny if he wasn't.
You're like, just kidding, no. Wink.
All right, so Henry and Carol, they encounter Fonzie Savior, which I found incredibly annoying. This to me was probably the weakest part of this entire episode. The whole setup for this whole Savior introduction was ridiculous.
Yeah.
The fact that he like hears a shouting woman and like jumps off the wagon and just starts running towards this, like, that just seems incredibly dumb in this world.
Yeah. And maybe they're trying to point out that Ezekiel has sheltered him a little too much.
Maybe, or
yeah.
They're trying to make him this like righteous kind of person.
I don't need any moral arbiters. I don't need any like compassy type people, especially from youth. Like, you don't have the experience. You don't even have a frame of reference. You've grown up in this world with this morality, not anything that existed in civilized society. Mm-hmm. The early version of you was like trying to shoot people in a pen with an AK.
Yeah.
So you can't see an ambush coming?
Yeah, frankly, this whole thing felt a little bit contrived. Like, they know, like, after 6 years, they know this is what the Saviors are doing, right?
Right. You got to.
Like, this is not the first time this happened. So, maybe they're not staying in the same place all the time. Maybe they're constantly on the move. I don't know. Like, if they're not, then why are you even driving past this? Why are you even falling for this? Like, I don't understand. The whole thing just kind of felt like a little bit contrived. Somehow Jed became like an Italian fucking mobster over the last 6 years. Like, hey, boss lady, how you doing? Like, I'm like, wait, what? Pleasure doing business with you. Where did this guy come from? Like, I don't understand.
I'm gonna let you keep the wagon. I'm gonna let you keep your lives. But I'm gonna need that ring. I'm gonna need that ring.
Yeah. It's like, okay, whatever. And thankfully they all died. So don't have to listen to that. I think that's also a wise decision with a show that has way too many characters on it at this point. I thought it was a really good decision to kind of off all of the remaining saviors, other than the ones we've kind of come to know and love, and contributing to the group, specifically Lara, who's now apparently living at Alexandria and becoming a member of the council, or is a member of the council. I thought that was an interesting, thing that we didn't necessarily point out, that they gave someone who was a savior an actual say in the going-ons of Alexandria.
Right, and it's redemption. Like, yeah, people can come back, and this is what it looks like.
Yep. And I feel like Lara was kind of always a good person. We've never really seen her do anything like like a rat who killed like children and shit like that, as far as we know, right?
Right, yeah, it was never like, well, that's irredeemable. Sorry.
Yeah, but I mean, it's very possible that she did. We just did not see it, and we were not privy to any of that information. So
right. My war atrocities happened off camera.
Yes, exactly. So you don't know about it. But yeah, basically they rob Carol and take all their shit, and Jed lets them live because Carol apparently spared him back in the day during that kind of standoff that we saw last episode. Mm-hmm. It utterly shocked me that Jed is still alive after that standoff, right? Knowing that there was a shoot off and people ended up dead. How the fuck is Jed alive?
What? Carol? An oversight on your part, my dear. How did you just let that dipshit live knowing he had ringleader written all over him? No idea.
Frankly, I think that whole kind of standoff is a bit of a loose end if you really think about it.
Yeah.
There's this firefight that ensues. There's no reason for that firefight to ever stop. Everyone is dead or surrendering. And then the walkers roll up. But, why is Jed not dead in that situation? Like, Carol has already warned him multiple fucking times, knock this shit off or you're going to get everyone killed. I don't know why he's not the first one to get a fucking bullet in the head.
I don't know.
Especially when he's the one who's kind of like churning everything up. But, whatever.
I guess a bullet was too good for him at the end of the day.
I guess so. I guess we just wanted to see Carol set everyone on fire.
It's a Carol type move.
That was a very Carol type move. I also found it very hard to believe that after chewing on that matchstick for so long that match could actually be lit. But just me.
I mean, he wasn't chewing on the end that lights.
I know, but like, how long has he been chewing on that single matchstick?
We're going to get the carbon dating out on like how long he's been messing with that matchstick?
I'm just saying, like, I leave matches out in the humidity a little bit too long and they won't light, and this guy's chomping around on this thing for God knows how long, and that shit just sparks right up.
She got lucky.
Yeah, whatever. I've always wanted to do that, like light a match on something else. Let me just say, that does not actually work.
It's not. It's harder than you think it is. You need one of those not matches that come from like a book of matches. You need those stick guys that you can strike on any sort of gritty surface.
Well, I've tried to do it on a bottom of a shoe. I've tried to do it on some rocks. It does not work.
I've tried to do it. The TSA won't let me take them on a plane. I keep trying to tell them I don't know what to do with them in the first place.
And where's Homegirl getting all this spare gasoline?
I don't. It was in the wagons that the saviors took off of took off of Carol. She had 2 like gallon jugs.
Oh, maybe it was ethanol from Fear the Walking Dead.
It's true. It was left over.
Yeah. After it all dumped out onto the ground. All right. So what else we got here? This episode was really fucking jam packed, and I would feel rude to not cover all of it.
Right? I mean, we've got Negan and Judith again, like a further kind of divvying up of Carl's storyline.
Yeah. So basically, Carl in the comics going to Negan and kind of having these strange father-son conversations that he doesn't really feel like he can have with Rick. Not really the same level here. This is more of a little bit of playful. I'd say playful banter, but more on the part of Judith, kind of talking a little bit of shit to Negan. What did you get from Negan's story about the stray dog? How he used to bring home stray dogs, and one day a stray dog killed all the other dogs, so he never brought them home again. What lesson was he trying to teach Judith there with that, or was he trying to manipulate her in some way?
No, I think it's lesson oriented, obvious foreshadowing or hinting at. See, this is I think another. He's both foreshadowing, as well as speaking to the incident. You know, the thing that's going unnamed in that 6-year. You know, there's something there, right? Because Negan does say something about Michonne knowing, kind of having some sort of familiarity with the concept as well. I think Negan's demeanor in this, he's downright chipper. Yeah,
he's like a totally different person from the last time we saw him.
Right. Same circumstances, but different guy.
So are we supposed to be are we led to believe that he's been down there for 6 years and he's gone from banging his head on a wall, begging to be killed. 6 years later, he's still down there, and now he's like a chipper, happy-go-lucky guy.
Well, what he wasn't getting, he was in true solitary confinement.
But he still
6
is.
Years. Well, there's a difference between solitary confinement with human interaction and contact versus solitary confinement and no interaction. The only person who would even talk to him was Rick before, and he wasn't coming down every day, every month. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he was being driven insane. That's why he wanted to die. That's the impact of solitary confinement. Now he's got, somebody to talk to. Judith is actually like visiting him, and he can see her.
He's getting haircuts too, apparently.
Yeah, right. He's getting, he looks a little monkish with his hair.
Well, I find it strange that someone's actually willing to go into that cell and cut his hair.
Well, so, gotta be done.
How do you get a crew cut in this world? If you don't have functioning electric, well, I guess they do.
They do, yeah. Alexandria does.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how would you use clippers to get
get
that
I
close
don't know
about you? So I don't know. I just feel like it's kind of like a weird thing if he is alluding to the quote-unquote incident that occurred. He's kind of like it seems like he's telling a story warning her of like this is what could happen rather than this is what already happened when he's telling that story.
Yeah.
No, I
agree. I think you're right there.
So I don't know if this was just like him trying to provide some sort of life lesson to her, and then, them giving her the opportunity to kind of slay him with look how well that turned out for you, whatever. I thought that was a kind of like a fun line and interaction between the two characters, but I don't know. Negan was speaking to me in this episode, especially when she was asking him about like the math, and he was like, "What the fuck does any of this matter?"
Right? Like, what difference does it make?
And I feel like I've said that at least 23 times throughout the course of my education or whatever. So, I don't know. I feel you there, Negan. It was like you were speaking to me. When am I ever going to use it? Never. That's when.
Yep. Yeah. That's I liked the kind of the pointing out because it would have been an obvious plot hole, which is a plane. Judith, what's a plane? You seen one ever? Have you seen one? Do you think you'll ever see one? Okay. What the hell does this matter? Like, give me something that's, relevant to the world around you, and then we can make it, make sense.
Just that one helicopter is traveling.
I've seen a helicopter. Wait, did I say too much?
With an A, and one helicopter traveling with a B. Yeah, no. All right, so kind of to wrap this episode up, Magna and her group are obviously concerned that they're going to get kicked out. It was kind of weird because it said Michonne kind of walked out and was like, after the whole prison tattoo thing was revealed, she says, feel free to take your vote, or I beg people to remember this or to see this or whatever. So feel free to take your vote. And I second the motion. So did they ultimately vote to not allow Magna's group to stay?
I don't think they voted.
Oh, okay. Because later in the episode, someone makes a comment like saying Michonne basically squashed or made the deciding decision that Magna's group was not going to be able to stay. But when she exits that council meeting, she's like, go and vote, and I second the motion. To me, she's saying, whatever you guys decide, I agree with, but I'm trying to show you why not to vote them to stay, right?
Right. Well, she's seconding the motion from parliamentary rules to bring the vote to the floor. The way it works is somebody says, I vote. I want to vote. Who seconds the motion? If nobody seconds, it doesn't come to the floor for a vote. So she seconds the motion to bring it to a vote.
Okay. I thought voting yes, like that's her seconding that. But
no,
maybe I'm wrong.
Right. No, if she were voting, she would say, what her vote was. To second the motion is to, carry it forward for the vote.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, then I guess they didn't vote, or they voted.
Yeah, she's basically like, I second the motion, bring it to a vote, but come on, you already know what it is. Look what I just showed you. Fuck you, and out the door she went.
All right. So yeah, then Magna's group obviously wasn't super happy. But most of them decide like, okay, whatever, we're just going to go on doing what we're doing. We will survive one way or another, and we're going to leave. Magna makes the plan to go to Michonne's house, and I don't really know. Like,
yeah.
Like, what was up with that situation? Because she had the knife that Michonne discovered, and Michonne took it away. And then, what is that girl's name? Something or another. I don't remember. The girl with the fucking head injury. Makiko or something. Ikiko.
Yumiko?
Yumiko. Whatever the fuck her name is. She had a necklace on, and that necklace also had some sort of a knife attachment to it. Correct?
Welcome, Magna, shopper at World of Knives, wherever,
Yeah, she's a hardened criminal, man.
Right. Knives inside of knives.
So they seem to imply that Magna is going there because she wants to, quote, fight. And what is her master plan here? To kill Michonne?
Right. Do you think you're going to kill her with that little dinky thing? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, and what do you think is going to happen? You're going to kill Michonne and then you're going to get to stay?
Right. Like, the logic doesn't add up here, girly. I don't think that's just not... I don't know. It's really inconsistent.
Yeah, that part was like a little bit sloppy to me. Like, they could have, like... I don't know how they make that honestly more realistic, because, she's saying she wants to fight to stay. And in a way, I feel like that kind of echoes the way Rick was when he first came to Alexandria. Like, oh, if they're not going to let us stay, or they're not going to, make this work, then we're just going to take it from them. But it doesn't work that worked because Rick could tell these people Alexandria was not well equipped to really put up a fight against them.
Well, exactly, because at that time, the crew that they had, they could have taken that place if they wanted to.
Yeah, but you have Michonne who gets off a horse and like peacocks in your fucking face and says, "Who the fuck are you?" Like, you're not fucking with this chick. Are you serious? And you could tell all these other people are hardened. They've been out there and they've been living that life, and they know what they have to do to survive. Like, Magna's group is not fucking taking over in any way.
Right, and Magna's the only one who who thinks that, because everyone else, Luke out there is like, you're gonna what? No, we're gonna vote against that. Like, they take the vote like, nope, we're not gonna do any of that. We're gonna survive, and we're gonna get Yumiko, and we're gonna go, make the best of it.
Yeah.
Magna, on the other hand, thinks that she can prove something to, the only thing that I can think is maybe she's trying to prove her usefulness to Michonne. Maybe. Like,
by attempting to kill her?
No, by saying like, look what, I don't know, dude. I'm just trying to make the most sense out of like a kind of a not great, really inconsistent narrative choice, and a choice for a character to do this. If only that she was going to, and this is shitty writing. It's the only point in this episode where I think like, man, they kind of missed the boat here on this part of the story, or this part of the script, where we get to see RJ for the first time. We get to see Rick Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Rick Grimes, I never miss. He only needed one shot, man.
Yeah.
One shot, and then off. We get to see him with Michonne, and that changes Magna's mind, and she comes to the door and hands the knife to her, saying, you missed one, and I wouldn't trust me. I wouldn't trust me either. You just, it instantly kind of brings out her empathy and humanizes her. Mm-hmm. Now, if they wanted to get her to that point, all that makes sense. The one bit that doesn't make any damn sense is the reason she goes there.
Exactly.
Right? Because they don't have to have that reason. She could have just gone right up to the door and been like, you know what? I had this other knife too. Like, and she could have just been watching from the window. We don't need to see the knife right yet. Yes. She could have just been watching.
Yes.
And then she comes up to the door, knock, knock, holds out the knife like, hey, here you go.
The primary problem there is that they had a shot where she unsheaths the knife. And that, to me, implies that she was going to take action with said knife.
Right.
And hurt Michonne. Had they just shown her watching Michonne from outside, that would have had that ambiguity of like, oh, we don't know what Magna's doing here. And then she sees her with RJ, because it makes it seem like by unsheathing the knife, it seemed like she was planning an attack only until she saw RJ, and that made her change her mind. Exactly. But those motivations make no sense whatsoever.
None. And they had done such a good job over the, at that point, hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
To show, and they were just showing us the world. They were just showing us the things that had happened. They weren't really heavy-handed with look at my metaphors. They weren't very like Gimple, like gavel on your head of like, look at the metaphor, stupid. Look what I'm trying to tell you, dumb asses. They were just showing us. They were just giving us how the world is now.
Yep.
And this is one of those areas where they just kind of had to. They just decided to tell us, and it just clanked.
Indeed. Old Clanky McClankstein.
It's like bang, bang, it's just, I don't know, there's an old engine backfiring.
Yeah. Yeah, so little issue there, but what can you do? We give them one for the episode, right?
Right. Everybody gets one.
Everyone gets one. And yeah, so I mean, obviously they have that kind of little bonding moment, and then Judith is sitting there at the top of the stairs with the cold python that was literally bigger than her, which I thought was fun. And Michonne kind of just says, oh, your dad would be proud of what you did yesterday, aka letting Magna in. And then she kind of makes this sad little statement, I'm starting to forget their voices, and I hope you can still hear them. So, I don't know. That was kind of like a sad, depressing little thing.
I like that exchange. One, just to have her there on the steps, like, it's Michonne saying, like, it's my job to keep you safe, like, not the other way around. At the same time, like, nah, I got you. Like, she wouldn't get in this house no one way or how. That's it.
Yep.
I really dug that, just about the character. And I think that statement about the voices, you can make a statement one way or another to say, like, she wouldn't remember him anyway. But it conjures an image has to conjure thought to Michonne of like, well, shit, can I remember them?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, that's always like the hardest part about losing anyone, right?
Mm-hmm. True.
So.
It's not like, you know, there are no cell phones. You don't have like old voicemails. You know, you can't call an answering machine. You can't do any of that shit. It's just in your brain, hopefully.
Yeah. You can't watch videos. You can't do anything.
Well, I mean, Alexander's got that one video, but you don't want to watch that, Rick. You don't want to see that shit.
No, they do have, now come to think of it, they have those recordings.
Yeah, but it's like wild, feral Rick.
I actually think it would be kind of fun to show them. To shoot.
This is your dad.
I don't know. That would be kind of hilarious. Fun. It would be fun to like inform Judith's character moving forward. This is your siblings, because she's even in one of those videos. Carl's holding her, I think.
Right. No, I think you're right. Like, here's you and Carl. You're like, he had 2 eyes. Yes, he did.
I wonder if she's seen those videos. I don't know.
It's a good It's a good thing to get some fan fiction going. Somebody.
Yeah.
About that scene.
So obviously Rick and Michonne had a baby, which I mean pretty much could have guessed based off of the heavy-handed scene that we got a couple of episodes ago, where Rick says he wants to start creating for the future, and they obviously conceive a child in that moment. A little too many babies just happening casually for me. Like, I don't know, going back to like, medieval times or whatever, having children, like, I feel like it would be like super risky, even like with modern medicine these days, to have a child, with obviously active healthcare and a hospital and functioning equipment to monitor the pregnancy, and then also to aid you in the delivery of said child, knowing all the complications that go on with childbearing.
Sure, but I mean, we got here somehow, dude. Like, we got here somehow.
I don't know. It just seems like a little reckless to me, in my opinion.
It's actually one of the main conceits, or like one of the sort of political tent poles of, but it remembers the 4-season kind of reboot of Battlestar Galactica.
Mm-hmm.
They said, if we're going to survive, we actually got to start having babies. Like,
True.
we actually have to keep reproducing, otherwise we die as a species.
Yeah.
So at a certain point, you've got walls, you've got safety, a reasonable measure of it. You know, in a period of time, 6 years is kind of a long time for that world, when they were at one point measuring day to day, meal to meal, you know, hour by hour. 6 years is a long time to then want to start a family, you know, for people to couple off and be able to focus on those things.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I would just like to see some like realism in terms of like the complications that would go on with like having a pregnancy in this world.
I mean, if I'm right, that scar is a manifestation of the complexities of it.
You think? I don't think that's what it's from.
I'm sure it isn't, but like, I want to believe.
I just, what, I mean, obviously I don't know too many things about pregnancy complications or anything like that would result in that, but like you said, you already said, that doesn't seem like a surgical scar.
It doesn't.
And
yeah,
I'm not aware of any, you know, pregnancy complications that would involve the removal of an organ. Even preeclampsia, I mean, why would that involve the removal of a kidney?
Well, high blood pressure and in complicated pregnancies, it can lead to organ failure. That's why it's such an issue. It's also an issue for like the health of the child. You know, who knows, even if it wasn't the pregnancy, who knows if it was something else? If she got stabbed, I don't know. But,
yeah.
You know.
Well, so I'm also looking right now on Google Images of kidney removal scars. That is not remotely in the location of her scar.
I mean, her scar looks like X marks the spot treasure map, kind of like it.
Yeah, and like directly on her back, not like to the left of her spine. Like if it was a kidney removal, it would be more along her like waist, kind of.
Interesting. Okay. Interesting.
So I don't know what organs are in your back, but yeah, it's like X marked the spot. Like,
and I mean, we have a pretty stunning example of, you know, the complexities of pregnancy in this world. What killed Lori?
Child. Oh yeah, you're right. Okay.
You know.
All right, so then I I can get down with that a little bit. Let's see. What organs are in your back? There's literally nothing there.
In your back? Well, of course, there's nothing in your back. It's where your spine is.
Where that scar is. There's literally no organs there. It's literally her spine. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm disproved of my. It's not surgical then, and if it's not surgical, okay. What sick fuck put an X on Michonne's back?
I don't know. It makes no sense unless they like figured out a new like way to deliver children through the back. So,
I have a theory. We're gonna pull it out through your spine. That seems like it would kill both of us.
It's less complicated this way.
Right, I'm just gonna give it one good yank, and we'll be home free.
Yep. I don't know, man. I guess find out. I don't have any theories other than some organ was harvested, and so there's no organ there's no organ to take out of there. So whatever. Who fucking cares? We'll find out, I'm sure. But clearly they wanted us to notice, and I'm sure they won't leave it unanswered at some point in the show. Maybe like Heath will find out like 6 seasons from now what her scar is from. But yeah, Heath taken away by the helicopter, guys. If you didn't hear.
That's right.
Did you know that you were actually supposed to realize that?
Supposed to realize it?
Yeah. So after...
Shut up, Gimple.
After episode 5 aired, Angela Kang did an interview and revealed that Heath was also taken, and if you don't even remember Heath, it was the guy with the dreadlocks who was in the Terra episode, and he randomly disappeared, and there was the PPP key card or whatever that was left behind. Angela Kang said that Heath had been taken by the same people who took Rick in the helicopter. So it was all basically Jadis organized that entire thing. Still makes no sense because they were at Oceanside, which was hours supposedly away from where Jadis was, but I digress. But they said that the last time we saw the RV that Jadis was in, Heath had that RV. And so we were supposed to draw the connection between Jadis having that RV and knowing that Heath had it, and that's why she had it. I was like, are you serious? I'm supposed to remember something that happened 4 seasons ago? To a character no one gave a flying fuck about.
Right. If he uttered anything when he got on that helicopter, it's bye, I'm off to star in 24. It's definitely going to go for like 10 seasons.
So, I don't know. That part kind of like irritated me a little bit. And the thing, I noticed the RV and I was like, oh, that's interesting. That kind of looks like the Heath RV. I didn't draw the connection that she's the one who took it from Heath. I thought they just fucking used the same goddamn RV.
Right. Our first instinct isn't even about the story. It's like, oh, they're probably just cheaper to use that same RV.
Exactly. Like they were just repurposing what they already had. Like, I don't know. That's like completely asinine.
Right.
But craziness. So basically the end of the episode ends with Eugene and Rosita trying to escape the herd that they encounter once they place the radio. I thought it was kind of dumb. Like, why wouldn't Rosita just climb up?
Actually, you're not the first person to say that. And my response at that time was, everybody always goes to the attic when the monster attacks the house. And what happens? They fucking die upstairs.
Yeah, but how are they going to die? Like, the walkers are not going to get up there.
Well, they're not going to get up there, but they might stop. And if the herd stops there, then they're dead.
I don't know. I guess I just like they're so high up there, like anything could catch the attention of the herd, and it would just get pulled away, in my opinion. But
sure. If it were me, I wouldn't be climbing. You'd be like, I'm going up. Like, cool. I'm going to go where all of my options are. Bye.
And I'd be alive, and you'd be dead. I might be dead later.
I'm not going to choose a starvation death.
All right, fine, fair enough. I guess that's. But they're with the radio equipment too. Like they could literally phone in to anyone, and be like, "Yo, guys, herd, can you handle this shit?"
Herd, you heard? Somebody help me.
Herd. So basically, they're able to escape by conveniently throwing themselves down this kind of cutout in the land, I guess like a riverbed of some sort, and just cover themselves in mud. And the herd conveniently walks completely around them, not on top of them.
Yeah, they pulled a Fellowship of the Ring on them.
Yeah. And we hear whisperings from the walkers. Where are they? They must be close. Don't let them get away. So the walkers are talking these days.
Dun dun.
I found like so many people commenting on threads like, oh my god, did anyone else hear like what the walkers were saying at the end of the episode? It's like they're like the first to discover that this was happening. It was,
right.
Yeah.
Right. If,
Welcome.
if you don't know anything about the comic book storylines, I imagine it's going to be a pretty big shock.
Yeah, it's true. But I thought it was a cool way to introduce the Whisperers. You also notice like a lot of walkers with just like hair in front of their faces, which I think are supposed to represent the Whisperers. But I also hope that like the Whisperers aren't just a bunch of ring-looking motherfuckers with hair all in their face, because that'll be lame as shit.
Right. Put a dead walker's face on your face.
Yes, I better goddamn see that. Swear to God. Swear to God. All right, so we're going on 2 hours, which is just shocking. I think this is like the longest Walking Dead podcast we've done in maybe like 5 years. So that's good, but a lot of good conversations. So we actually got a bunch of feedback, but I'm not planning on reading any of it. Otherwise, this is going on a 3-hour podcast. And I already know I'm going to be on a 3-hour podcast because Sister Speak does like 5-hour podcasts. So it's going to be a long day on Friday. So we'll get to this feedback next week, unless there's like all brand new shit, and then we'll talk about whatever. But let's do episode ratings while we're here. Last week you rated episode 5, What's to Come, an 8.5, and I rated that an 8.197. Dennis rated that a 10 because he's crazy.
Right.
What do you rate episode 6? Who are you now?
I think I'm going to go where you were last week.
Oh.
This week.
Okay.
Because I think I'm going to go 8.1.
9.7?
8179.
Oh, okay. Is it weird that I think this is probably the best episode of the season so far?
I don't think so. I think it's the Magna effect for you.
Yeah. More Magna. She's my more cowbell. More Magna. Okay, maybe it's not, because I think we actually kind of poked a couple of like glaring holes in this issue. Specifically the Carol storyline. Was kind of like jarring. Daryl reverting back to his old kind of ways, and then just kind of like they renovated the attic, but they missed on the trim work. You know what I mean? So it kind of is just like, it's nice and it's done, but it's just not the best it could have been.
Yeah, what are you going to do? You're on a budget.
Yeah. So I'm going to put this, if I'm like floating around an 8.232 is my highest, I'm going to probably put it around like an 8.1. 9. It's kind of like the ratings for The Walking Dead this week over week. You're like down just a little, a hair,
skosh, a tad,
a fleck. All right, so next week, episode 7 is called. That's an interesting word. Stradivarius.
Yeah.
Okay. The synopsis here is Carol seeks out an old friend living alone. Oh, there you go. Carol seeks out an old friend living alone in a wilderness teeming with walkers. Survivors make the perilous trek to a new home. So, well, I guess that kind of debunks all of our Daryl theories about him just being out there hunting. It kind of sounds like he is, in fact, living out there in the wilderness alone.
Great. Thanks, Daryl. Appreciate it.
Wait. Or maybe not. So in this episode, Carol takes like a little side journey on the way to the hilltop, and continuously Henry asks, where are we going? And she's like, calm the fuck down. Then they happen across Daryl. Was she going to see Daryl, or did Daryl just happen to cross paths?
I think he just happened to cross paths because hey, strange, do you want to ride? Or ride, because she's going somewhere. And,
so then the person she's seeking out living in the wilderness might not actually be Daryl.
That is correct.
So then who's an old friend that she's seeking out living alone in the wilderness?
I'm
trying to think who Carol is actually friends with.
Right?
I feel like she doesn't have a lot of friends.
I can't quite troll, IMDb's full cast and crew listing for it, because if it's somebody that they haven't disclosed, who's to say?
True. Yeah. Well, and I mean, maybe she developed a friendship over 6 years that we just have not seen. But it's probably one of the characters that we have yet to see in this. So we'll go with a Tara or I don't know. Maybe Tara is an old friend. Who's an old friend? I guess everyone's an old friend at this point. And so Stradivarius, it's one of the violins, violas, or cellos, or other string instruments built by the Italian family Stradivari. And according to their reputation, the quality of their sound has defied attempts to explain or equal it. What do you think the relationship? You sound like maybe you're a little bit familiar with this.
Yeah,
which does not surprise me.
Right? Yeah, like this very niche, like nerdy thing. Like, sure, of course, John would have passing familiarity with it, but finding a Stradivarius violin is like widely, it's like holy grail sort of status. These are priceless level instruments.
Yeah, I think I saw this on Antiques Roadshow once.
Right, like if you had one of these, congratulations, you don't have to work anymore.
So what is this in relation to the episode, do you think?
Well, two things. One, it is an instrument that has no equal, really. Of course, there's modern debate around it, but an instrument that has no equal, has a rare quality of sound. Nothing else sounds like this thing. So to title something like that is to equate yourself with it. So what are they looking for that is, what's a uniqueness? What is a singular voicing? A thing that doesn't sound like anything else?
Are you asking me? Because I have no idea.
I am. I'm asking the world, Seb.
Do you have an answer?
I don't know. I don't really want to, conject or make. Although what's interesting is Stradivarius is directed by Michael Cudlitz. Yeah,
Abraham's making his return, but this time behind the camera.
Which I kind of dig. I'm really anxious now and super curious to see that, because if he had a hand in titling the show as well, along with the writing team, I'm interested to see what becomes of this, because I don't see anything in the cast for this that would make it obvious, to me, like who's involved in this particular episode, like what's happening with it. So I don't know. I'm interested to see what this bears out.
Gotcha. All right. I'm down for it, so we'll see what happens.
All right, we'll be here.
We will, in fact, be here. All right, well, so, I mean, that's basically it. So, like I mentioned earlier, I will be talking about this episode again in possibly more detail, I don't know, later in the week on the Sista Speak podcast, so you can actually go to sistaspeakproductions.com. That's where they have all of their podcasts. So yeah, I'll be a guest on that, and obviously I'll share it on our social media, facebook.com/fandomfound, Twitter @fandomfound. So yeah, that'll be fun. And if you like our podcast and you want to subscribe, you can do so by going to fandomfound.com/subscribe, where you will find subscription options for this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, a whole bunch of different player options that you have. And if you want to send feedback into the show, you can do so, twdepodcast@gmail.com. And we haven't really gotten any ratings lately on iTunes, so if you like the show, definitely drop us a rating. We'd appreciate it. It helps us kind of boost up in the iTunes algorithm there and get more people listening to our show. And at this rate, there's not many Walking Dead podcasts left. So, why not help people find one that's actually updated on a regular basis?
Right. Your options are limited. You might as well choose us.
Yeah. One of the things that really bothers me about the iTunes algorithm is that there's no, like, it doesn't seem like there's recency included in that algorithm. So I think mainly the algorithm is based off of like recency of downloads. So if you have a large spike in downloads, you might move closer up to the top of the list. One of the things that's annoying is like if you go into the store, I don't even know what they call it. I'm not like an Apple guy. So the iTunes store, and you search for The Walking Dead, and then you go into podcasts, like we'll be maybe like 12 on the list, even though we're one that's been around for one of the longest out of all of them. And 10 out of those 12 have not been updated in like 3 years. And I'm like, well, that's annoying as shit, because it's like, A, it's a poor user experience, and as someone who works on the internet and thinks about user experience on a daily basis, like, why would you not want to be presenting, podcasts that are actually updated as it's related to that search? You know what I mean? It's a little frustrating.
We're just here to help the humans.
Exactly. So, your reviews help us to, jump ahead in that list a little bit more. So we'd appreciate it, and we'll love you forever. So, all right, John. Any final thoughts before we wrap this long ass shit up?
Yeah, man, I jammed too many of my thoughts, and I'm out of thoughts.
All right, lots of thoughts this week. So until next time, guys, I'm Sebastian.
I'm John.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Walking Dead Enthusiast Podcast by Fandom. See you next time.